everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Happy Monday to you all. I hope that you're having a fantastic day today, and I hope that you had a great holiday weekend if you were celebrating the 4th of July here in the United States. And then if you weren't, I still hope that you're having a great holiday. I hope you have good weather wherever you are, and everything was just like, I love a good weekend where it's productive, but also chill. You know, you got some naps in there. You got some chores done. Like you ran some errands. You might have worked out. You might have watched a movie. Whatever it may be. I hope that it was fantastic. And again, happy Monday. And I just want to tell you that I hope so much that the next 6 months of this year are just going to be fantastic. You know, I know a lot of people are starting to develop new ideas and new goals for the second half of the year, hoping that 2020 in the second half will redeem itself. We won't know. We will probably reflect back on it towards closer to the end of the year, but I am out there with you, also hoping that starting now, things will get better. But we'll see, you know, and there's always the opportunity to keep a positive mindset despite what's going on, you know, continually be grateful and just know that despite bad things happening, there are still good things happening in your life. And in regards to that, I hope that whether your day is just started, in the middle, or towards the end, that it is a pretty good day. Remind yourself that you always have the option of the 5-minute reset. If you are having a really tough day, a really bad day, things are just bombarding you from all sides, all around, the 5-minute reset is for you to take at least 5 minutes of time by yourself. Use more time if you have more time, and you will take that time to really reset, come back to baseline, kind of restart your day over in a sense. And you are welcome to do this as many times as you want throughout the day, throughout the week, whenever you want. There's not a limit. And it will just really help you to kind of like reset what's going on in your mind, in your emotions, you know, kind of help you to shake off anything that has really grabbed a hold of you that day or that week. And you can also spend time going over things that you are grateful for, and I recommend always having a list of at least 4 things, more things if you want. They can be big things, small things, middle things, for things that you're grateful for. You can be grateful for your pets, you can be grateful for your parents, upcoming vacations, the lunch that you had, you know, being able to watch Hamilton 20 times over the weekend. I'm super grateful for that, you know, so it doesn't matter. You can be grateful for virtually anything, so that's why the list can just go on and on and on. And also, take the time to just really kind of clean up the mindset that you're having for the day, and maybe even problem solve whatever you're going through if you are able to problem solve it so that tomorrow is a better day. But the most important thing of the 5-minute reset is to be able to walk away from it feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of the day, and, you know, imparting the gratitude and being able to shake off the bad, troublesome, annoying things that are happening to you will be able to change your mindset. And I am a firm believer that gratitude is one of the best things to change your mindset. So I am just here to encourage you to take the 5-minute reset if you need it. It'll genuinely help you feel better, but make sure that you do not finish the reset until you can walk away feeling at least neutral about the rest of the day, if not positive, and know that tomorrow will be a better day and you can still appreciate this one, even whatever is left of it. So again, happy Monday. This week we are talking about stop giving up on yourself. So I was just like searching through ideas, and I keep an ongoing list of ideas that I want to talk about on the podcast, but you know, the tough thing about coming up with topic ideas is because it needs to span the whole week. So it needs to be something that I can't necessarily just talk about fully in a half an hour, because then every episode would be super short. And, you know, a lot of those topics, I'm sure at some point there'll be some sort of weird grab bag week of a podcast week where I will talk about different things every day, and they may not necessarily be related, but usually I save that kind of content for Instagram or YouTube because it can be easily condensed into that kind of form, as opposed to trying to talk about it for 5 days in a whole week where it might be boring or just not enough information. So anyway, so I was really thinking through, and I was like, you know, one of the things that I've been plagued with recently is like wanting to give up on myself, but also getting better at not giving up on myself. Truly being able to have the mindset and the willpower to realize that, you know, me personally and you guys out there, we have such a high potential and possibilities and opportunities we don't even know exist yet. And if we are continuously giving up on ourselves and not giving things a chance and, taking the opportunity to learn through mistakes and failures and or things that are expectations that maybe didn't pan out the way we thought but were better or different than we thought, taking those opportunities to really experience those things and know that so much can come out of that in the end if we just didn't give up. So I found that it would be a really good thing to talk about this week. I have it feels like an unlimited amount of information, at least with today's episode, to talk about. So I hope that this week will be really beneficial to you. But today, Monday, we are going to talk specifically about being stuck in the past and resisting change. So let me go ahead and jump in because I feel like this one might be a little long. Let's hope it's not. Okay, so let me start this by mentioning that I am seriously for reflecting back on memories and experiences, but there is a difference between dwelling and constructive reflecting. So I talk about reflecting on life all the time. And so I just wanted to make sure that I threw in this comparison of how they're different so that you wouldn't think like, oh, wait, but I thought you said that's a bad thing. You know what I mean? So reflecting isn't truly reliving the whole experience, but reviewing it easily in your mind and coming away with the positive and negatives to learn from it. So if you were dwelling, you would really, really immerse yourself in the memories and find yourself picking everything apart and not walking away learning anything, but just feeling worse, So I'm sure you know that when you do spend the time to really dwell on the past and what has happened, like past relationships, past jobs, past experiences, past failures and mistakes, whatever they may be, or past really hard times for you, those emotions start to come up in you and you feel like you're actually back in that place. But when you're actually just reflecting back on it, you're kind of standing back. You're taking it a bigger step back and you're just kind of viewing it and figuring out the things that you can learn from, what you need to not do again, what you could do again, any sort of learning lessons, things you can take away from it, and then you just leave it there. You don't continually walk around, continually going through these memories and these feelings in your mind and in your heart, letting it continually beat you down. So I definitely want to make sure that I make that clarification between those two things because they seem like the same thing, but they're really, really not, because reflection is actually helpful and dwelling is not. So today we are going to talk about how to stop getting stuck in the past and start accepting change. And a lot of times our past can have a tight grip on our self-esteem because we let our past mistakes hold us back from future opportunities. And, letting anything have a tight grip on our self-esteem can just really break us apart as a person. We'll be walking around as an incomplete and not whole person. And how are we supposed to accomplish and be our best selves if we're constantly walking around not fully whole or complete and not being able to go after those future opportunities? So one of the reasons you could still be stuck in the past is because there is still pain and experiences that have not been healed and or processed. If we don't take the opportunity to fully face our issues head on, process everything that has happened, and recover and heal, those things will still plague you over time. And you will be in a lot of hurt. You got to take the time to actually recover, heal, process what is going on. Because, when you kind of just try to sweep things under the rug, and I know people in my life that do this, and I tell them all the time that it's not healthy, it's not beneficial, you need to actually work through it. But a lot of people don't want to take the time, the energy, or the emotions to actually work through things because it's too hard and it's too much. And some people just don't handle their emotions well, which is why it's so helpful to spend time in counseling, get together with a professional, really find certain self-help personal things that'll help you kind of break down your emotions, be more open with that. And I'm not saying that you have to be constantly crying and sad and, fully emotional all the time, but if you don't do it ever, then that's not helping you either. So, you really have to take the time to work through it, figure out what happened, why did it make you feel this way, how you can prevent it in the future, or what it can teach you in the future of how to react or accept things the best way and be able to move on without it continually tugging at you. kind of being this distant thing in your mind that's pulling you back constantly, making you question so many things in your life. And so you can actually properly recover and heal from those things and not let it just bring you down all the time. And if you find that journaling, talking with someone you trust and confide in, meditating, or confronting those involved in the issues, if there are others involved besides yourself, head on, hasn't or won't work for you, please consider counseling. Taking your issues to a professional to help you solve them will be so helpful and life-changing. And I feel like I talk about this in so many episodes, but at least once a week, to let you know that if you decide to seek counseling, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing that makes you any less than a person. It honestly makes you stronger and more self-aware, because you are realizing that the things that you're trying in your personal life to try to, maybe fix it, or it's only enough to put a band-aid on it, you're realizing that you need someone to actually come and see it from a different angle to help and give you professional advice and options to heal and recover quicker, or maybe it's at the same amount of time, but just in ways that you haven't come up with yet, kind of give you a roadmap, a plan of how to heal in a better way that will stick a little bit longer. So I just want to encourage you that seeking professional help is definitely always an option, and it can be one of the best options. So just consider it, and definitely can be life-changing. And in addition to this, you could have some unforgiveness harboring in your heart. And I know it can be super difficult to forgive someone of the wrongs they have done against you, but holding on to the hate is generally hurting you more than them. And maybe they feel hurt because if you are withholding any sort of like friendship, relationship kind of things from them, and no affection, you don't give a care in the world about them, they could be feeling sad, they could be feeling like lost without their friend, or just kind of empty. But generally holding on to all that hate in yourself it's doing more harm than good to you, because you're feeling cold, you're also feeling without, but like hate can kind of just like cut off any sort of emotions that you actually are feeling under the surface. You're kind of just putting a blanket over it because you're so upset about what happened. And sometimes, even despite any sort of apologies or making amends that the other person may try, a lot of times we like to hold on to hate because it's so much easier to hate people and to have anger towards them than to actually process the emotions, go through the line of actually forgiving people for the wrongs that they've done against us, because we don't want to open our heart again. We don't want to give people the opportunity to hurt us again. We don't want to have to process those emotions to actually tell them how we felt. We don't even want to realize that we felt a certain way sometimes. And so I encourage you to take some time to step back and realize that yes, it may be easier to be upset at them, but it's better to not. And even if they aren't feeling any negative effects towards you giving them anger and hate, it's even worse for you then. Then you're just doing it for nothing, because they're not, you might be acting that way because you feel like it'll punish them. But if they're not accepting any punishment that you're trying to give them, then it's all for nothing, really. If you really think about it, it's just all for nothing. So I would definitely encourage you to take the time to really think about that if you are harboring any sort of unforgiveness against someone. So some great ways to help you tackle forgiving someone is to let go of any punishment you have been bestowing on them, like a silent treatment. Stop silent treatment or withholding love and affection. Like I just mentioned, don't try to bestow punishment on people, because whether they accept it or not, it's still not the right thing to do. Do not celebrate their failures. A lot of times when you have quote unquote enemies or people you don't like or people that treat you poorly and they like mess up or have mistakes, and you're like, yay, finally, they are making the mistakes. Like, that's not good. That's not right. We don't want people out there like celebrating your mistakes and failures. So don't do that for them, despite how wrong they've done you, despite who they are and how mean they are and how negatively you feel about them. That is not right as well. Don't speak poorly of them either. Stop reminiscing about how the whole offense started, and treat them the way you like to be treated. And that's the golden rule: do unto others as like them to do unto us. And I truly believe in that, honestly. And not everyone follows that rule, and that will not always happen. But as long as you are doing it, that is what matters, okay? This is not like matching wits of like, okay, well, they're mean, so I'm going to be mean, or, they're more mean, but I'm not going to be as mean. Like, that's still not right. That's still not the right way to go about like handling anger and just pain that you have, that they have caused you. It's not going to help you to become a better person. It's not going to help you become stronger. It's not going to help you heal your heart at all whatsoever. So just be the bigger person, be the stronger person, and know that it'll help you to just like release whatever offense they did against you a lot easier if you're not continually dwelling on it and holding it close to your heart, where you have to harbor so much negative feelings towards them because you feel like that's what you have to do to justify the way that you feel towards them. So please do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. And letting go of those offenses will also help you move on and let go of anything that is holding you back. If you're continuously hanging on what someone did to you, you are definitely holding yourself back from possible opportunities that could just be like the brightest shining thing in your life. But you don't even know it because you're so head down in this negative action that happened to you, when you need to rise above it and move on and know that, like, whatever's coming to everyone, that is not your place to do it. You're not the judge and jury of them. God is the only judge and jury, and you need to move on, okay? Because, like, it's not your job to, like, punish them until the end of time. Another way to stop getting stuck in the past is to replace the negative thoughts that come up when dwelling on the negative experiences. Dwelling tends to make us focus on what we have lost instead of what we have gained. We need to replace the negative with the positive, like making a list of positive things you have learned and gained from past experiences. So this might seem super easy, you're like talking about like matching, like, okay, negative with positive, just kind of like slapping a sticker over like the negative thing that's happening. And I'm not necessarily saying that, let's say that someone betrayed you. Maybe they like, infidelity or stole from you or something like that, or hurt your feelings or spoke behind your back. Okay, those bad things happened and maybe those relationships ended, but just think about, the fun times that you did have, if it's not too painful. Think about the how far you succeeded and excelled in life in those different parts. Like, what did those relationships teach you as well? What can you pull away from that and know, like, to protect yourself against, or like cues that you'll learn in case you can kind of see those kind of behaviors happening again in another friend. Like, take positive experiences and really pull those out of any negative things that have. There's always a learning lesson in everything that we go through, whether we want to admit it or not. There absolutely is a learning lesson in everything. And I just want you to take the time to really attach any positive experiences to those negative things, and that way that if when you do look back on them, you won't be dwelling on the most negative parts. You will actually realize that there is something to gain despite how deep and dark it may seem. And we need to not always be focused on what we're lost or giving up, but what we can gain and what can come from those experiences in the future, and how they're going to make us a bigger, better, stronger person. We also need to accept the fact that there is no changing the past. What is done is done. Your only options are to accept your past, learn from it and move on, or continue to dwell on it and be miserable. I don't think anyone wants to be miserable. I know that a lot of people do, including myself sometimes, want to dwell on the past and dwell on all the things that people have hurt us. We want to sit there and act like the victim and talk about how all these bad things have been raining down on us. But how is that getting you to your next step on your timeline, on your goal structure, or just anywhere in life? How is that getting you to the next point? It's not. It's literally, you're just digging a hole for yourself to get stuck there even more than you already were. So I would definitely take a look at that. Just realize what has happened is happened. What is done is done. Hindsight is 20/20, and that could definitely help you in the future, but it's not going to help you change whatever happened in the past, no matter how hard you try. And I know it sounds harsh, but sometimes we just gotta like step back and let it go. Take the learning lessons, take our lumps, and move on. Because there's literally nothing we can do. And it's better just to accept it and learn from it and move on to better things. Now, let's talk about resisting change. One of the biggest reasons people resist change is because they focus on what they have to lose or give up rather than gain. And it's important to note that change is inevitable, but the growth we can gain from it is the optional part. So, change is going to come no matter how hard we kick and scream and yell and cry. But if we can choose to not grow from it. We can choose to not change and become bigger, better, stronger people. But then we're just going to continually get stuck. We're going to get stuck where we are, maybe even push back a little bit, as opposed to moving forward and gaining so many amazing opportunities that we don't even know are there yet. And, I always say that your mindset should be one that is geared towards the positive side. I'm not saying you have to be the most cheery, happy person in the entire world, but, as I said, one of the reasons people resist change is because they're so focused on what they're going to lose and give up rather than gain. But think about all the things you could gain. And I know it's really hard to see opportunity. It's really hard to see possibilities. It's really hard to see things when they're always in a hypothetical, but at some point it's not going to be in a hypothetical. At some point it's going to be your true reality, and you're going to look back and be so grateful that you decided to move forward and not stay stuck in the past or wherever you are right now, and know that the future is where the sun is rising and where everything is amazing. Okay? And I'm just saying that it's like being a little dramatic, but because not everything is roses all the time, but there are so many opportunities we don't even know are there. And yes, it might take longer than you have planned. It might take longer than you think, and it might not happen tomorrow, but it could happen next week, next month, next year. And time passes so quickly, especially the older that we get. So I would encourage you to focus on what you have to gain, possible opportunities, have that heart of just looking forward to what's coming next, as opposed to just dwelling on and begrudging everything that's happened to you. Because again, how is that helping you grow? How is that helping you get to the next step? And at some point, people are going to not want to listen to that, and you're going to be lonely and sad. And again, if you find it hard to do this on your own, which is totally fine, I did at some point, seek professional help, because it'll be so helpful and so much easier if you are having a hard time with it. But something that should help is to manage your expectations when you are moving into a time of change. So make sure you are not putting unrealistic expectations on the situation, and know that that if something goes wrong or mistakes are made, it's fine. And no one is perfect at everything the first time, or a lot of time in the beginning. No one's perfect at everything. And managing your expectations is one of the best things you can do just in life in general, because a lot of us put unrealistic expectations on our lives because, we think things should go a certain way because we've done certain things and set up certain things and spent time doing this, that, and the other, when life is unpredictable. No matter how well we've been playing the game, it can be so tough, and you just don't know what's going to happen, and you need to be flexible and be willing to know that it's going to be okay, and you'll be able to move and shake and grow with whatever comes at you. It's also important to accept change as a part of your life and know that not everything will turn out the way you want it, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It will just be different and maybe even better than you originally thought or planned. I like to think of it that way. Because I'm one of those people that is continuously focused and just dwelling on having all the expectations and everything planned out and everything thought thoroughly, but then realizing that a lot of things are not going the way I planned. I honestly think that God is just helping me learn lessons in that way, which I appreciate. Obviously, in hindsight, I try really hard to appreciate it in the moment and as things are going, but that can be extremely difficult. But yes, I try to just realize that, okay, I may have thought that I'm planning this the best way possible, but I'm absolutely not. I'm sure I forgot things. I'm sure that I didn't realize that this could happen and this could happen and all these domino things could affect each other. But it's just important to accept the change as a part of your life. And if you start doing that as soon as possible, your life will be so much easier, because then you'll learn even more so how to flex and change and go with the flow, and realize that, yeah, you can still have expectations, you can still have goals and a timeline, but if you're able to just flex and go with it as things come and go, you'll become even stronger, because less will be able to surprise you or shock you or get in your way or kind of shake you up. You're like, okay, this happened, this kind of sucks, this kind of messes up this thing, but this is what we can do, and this is how we can do this, and this might be put off or this might be sped up, but we'll figure it out and we'll move forward. It can also be helpful to learn as much as possible about any changes coming up in your life. Be as knowledgeable as possible and make a plan if you can. So a lot of times changes will come that we know about. I spent a lot of time talking about changes that maybe you didn't necessarily knew were coming, but if you know changes are coming, like let's say that you know that you have to take a different job. Like let's say you know that you've been released from your job, or you were furloughed or let go or laid off or whatever it may be. So you're like, okay, well, and if you know that's coming, like let's say that with coronavirus, you kind of knew that might be coming. And so, or if this happens again in the future, like let's say you're working for a company and all of a sudden they go bankrupt or something like that, and they're just telling you like, okay, this is going to be your last day. Start looking for information about unemployment. Start looking for jobs that are open for hiring that are within your realm of skills. Start looking at different ways. Maybe you can start your own business at home. Start thinking of ways that you can reduce your bills and intake for like groceries and food and stuff like that. Maybe look into using your savings if you have one of those. Or let's say that you know that you have to move, right? You're like, okay, well, I have to move in like 3 months, and you already know where you're moving or whatever like that. But then you're like, okay, well, I have to plan out like storing stuff, get rid of stuff. Like definitely do any sort of research you need on moving and giving things away or taking things to the dump or whatever it may be. Like whatever change. Or let's say that you found out that you're pregnant or that you're going to have a child or you're going to adopt a child. Like there's so much research you can do in becoming a new parent or becoming a parent again if it's been a long time, and prepping for that. If you know that change is coming, your best friend will be doing as much research as possible. And that might seem overwhelming, and you might feel like you might waste time doing research that didn't necessarily help you, but it didn't hurt you, did it? If you end up researching too much stuff and it turns out that you don't use that knowledge, that's fine. Maybe you'll use it in the future, or maybe you won't use it at all, but it didn't hurt you or it didn't take anything away except for maybe time to get that information that you didn't know if you needed it or not. And it's better that you had it in case you did, as opposed to not and you did. So just keep that in mind. If you are able to know a change is coming, just try to be as knowledgeable as you can, and it'll help to reduce any sort of stress or anxiety about it. Lastly, it's always important to practice gratitude. It will help you have the best mindset and keep you focused more on the things to be positive about rather than negative. I talk about gratitude all the time because it is such a mindset changer. It's amazing. And so I always want to encourage you, take the time to make a gratitude list, whether it's in your mind, in your planner, in your journal. Make sure the list is at least 4 things, 4 to 10. That's a great list right there. You want to make it longer? That's great. Do not make it shorter. Minimum 4 things, 4 to 10 things. It's a great list. It'll help you to reflect. It'll help you get out of a funk. It'll help to humble you if you're feeling, super high and mighty, high expectations got you up there in the clouds. If you're down in the dumps and having a bad day, gratitude will help. It'll help. It'll help you to realize that your life isn't as bad as you feel. And even if things are going really bad, you still have a reminder of things that are amazing and things you can still be happy about. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you know someone else that would really enjoy it, I encourage you to share it with them. Please check the description box for notes for the show, my website address, where you can find me on Instagram. Please come visit and say hi. And my email address for any questions, comments, concerns, or prayer requests. And again, happy Monday to you all. I hope that you have a good rest of your day. I hope you come back and listen to the rest of the episodes this week while we talk about stopping giving up on yourself. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.